hope you guys had a happy holiday, all of you. Christmas, however you celebrate it, and New Year's, however you celebrate it. We had a nice one. Took a little break from dealing with, all of the uncertainty with what happened to Rodney and the questions that go through my mind every day. Rodney, just to catch you up again, he had a traumatic brain injury in September of 2023, and along with a fractured skull to the right side of his head. Fractured skull was pretty big. When they had to remove Rodney's skull bone to let his brain swell so it did not cause any brain damage, they were unable to replace his skull bone because of the amount of pieces his skull was in. They weren't able to have a full closed skull, so they had to print, amazingly, a 3D printed skull off of a 3D printer. Pretty amazing. Normally what they do when they remove somebody's skull bone is they freeze it and then they replace it after the brain has done its natural swelling and it starts to recover. Pretty crazy having to see that, having to view the shape of the head, the deformity in the head after the skull bone was removed, and how the whole thing had to go, the removal of the skull bone so the brain could swell. And then after they put the skull bone back on, and almost looked like nothing had ever happened, but nothing had ever happened. Getting back to why I am doing this is because, removal of a skull bone, brain swelling, not being able to replace his skull bone because of the fracture and the severity of the fracture, and also no bodily injury. And this was all supposed to an opinionated fall off of his e-bike. I have trouble dealing with that opinion. Rodney didn't have any scrapes, no bruises, no broken bones, nothing on the face, nothing on the head where he fractured his skull. There was some abrasion on the back of his head. I don't know where that came from. I don't know. It could have been from the ground. I'm not too sure. But that's why I'm here, to figure this out, since the Burlington City Police Department didn't do that for us, even after asking, and even after making their own opinion when they had arrived to Rodney. They didn't seem to think that it was a fall off of his e-bike either. They thought it was an overdose. They clearly state in the body camera footage that there is no physical injury to the body. Very hard to believe. We all get lucky in things sometimes, and there's a lot of close calls sometimes when we have an accident or a fall or, a car accident. I've been there myself before. Miraculously, you end up with next to nothing when you shouldn't be here. We thank God for this every day. Thank God for Rodney still being here. But again, the reason why I'm here is because I have questions, and I had went to our police department, our local police department where we live, the police department who found him, and I specifically had said to them that I'm having trouble with believing this. And the reason being is because he had no bodily injury. Not to mention he was on a highway, Highway 130, and the amount of accidents, mind you, that I've heard of in the past 3 years of living in this area are insane. And I also drive these roads every day, so I do know how people drive on these roads. So if he were to fall coming off of the highway, There's like little to no room for a mistake because there's so many cars that are flying by, and today's world, people are not paying attention when they're driving. I'm still, like I said, I'm still unsure of what happened to Rodney. I do know my man. I have questions about him falling off of the bike. A natural human reaction to a fall, knowing you're going to fall is you're going to reach. You're going to try to protect your most important parts of your body the best way that you can. Now, the only way that you wouldn't be able to do that is if it was an unknown fall and you went flying and there was no way for you to be able to stop or break your fall, or if you had a medical emergency, which that did not happen, or if you were hit over the head with something. You normally don't fall with no kind of a mark on your body off of a bike. He was found in a grass patch, maybe, I don't know, about 3 feet. Half of his body was on the grass and the other half of his body was on the sidewalk. The side of the body that was on the grass was his torso and his head. Still questioning it. I am still having a hard time to believe this. And like I said, the police department also had a hard time upon reviewing the body camera footage. They didn't believe that. They had said that there was no injury to the body, and because there was some possession of illegal drugs, that they deemed it to be an overdose, and they were going to Narcan Rodney. Well, little known fact, when you have, or you bring somebody to the ER or to a trauma unit, first thing they do is they check your blood to find out what you had in your system, because they have to medicate, and they got to make sure that they don't medicate with something that is going to cause you to overdose also. Rodney had marijuana in his system, and yes, he did have alcohol in his system. I'm going to remind you, it was Friday. Not that it matters, but it was Friday, Labor Day weekend, at approximately 7:42 p.m. when they found Rodney. Labor Day weekend, Friday's paycheck. It's not abnormal for somebody to be drinking after they get paid. Especially not Rodney, for all of you that know him. What I do find abnormal in all of this is they left Rodney as a John Doe, and they did not try to fingerprint, nor did they try to reach out to the hospital the 2 days that I didn't know where Rodney was. So the third day is when I found him on September 3rd. So Friday evening, they didn't try to find out who he was. Saturday, all day, morning and night, they didn't try to find out who he was or call the hospital to find out if anybody had made a claim on Rodney. Or, even better, to find out what his injuries might have been. To maybe see if they needed to investigate this a little bit further. Nothing. And then I also find it abnormal to come across all of this and find out that they did nothing to investigate. With a little bit of investigating myself, with a little bit of help from a private investigator that my family's attorney knows. The reason why he recommended her was because if, in fact, there was something, I would use him as our attorney. Well, what I've learned through all of this is it takes an army to fight a police department or a